she's a zombie. Does she...
Rosenka falls from a cliff and dies instantly but is brought back to life as a zombie due to a potion made by our very ugly and useless protagonist, Chihiro. Chihiro, a first-year student of Shu High, sits on the floor in the corner of his room as he watches a zombie movie. He gets sad when the humans kill the zombies because he has always loved zombies. Even his friends think he's dumber than a solar-powered flashlight. Good God, imagine if this guy was in the Walking Dead series, he wouldn't pass the intro before turning. He lives in a historic temple with his dad, sister, grandpa, and a stray cat called Babu. His mom died when he was a kid, so he has no memory of her. One day, the cat got run over by a car right in front of him, and for the first time in his life, he felt the pain of losing someone. He buried the cat, and while he was mourning, his little sister, Maro, asked if children from the temple had to stay strong when something like this happens. Then, she bent down beside her brother and cried a little. I hope things don't go any further than that because we all know what happens next. The incident made Chihiro wonder how something like that could happen. He remembered that he had an old manuscript that was based on the art of resurrection, and that's when he got a crazy idea. He takes Baba's corpse, puts it on ice, and goes to an old abandoned building to perform the ritual. He hears footsteps from outside and sees a girl screaming, and the next thing he knows, he's waking up in the morning. Before going to school, he puts some ice in the cooler where he stored the cat's corpse. I hope no one opened that cooler for a cold drink that day, because instead of a cold beer, they'd see a cold kitty, just like my ex. On his way to school, his friend expresses how sad he is that they attend an all-boys school, while the all-girls school next door has a new student, the principal's daughter. Back home, a young girl, Ranko, makes a delivery and asks for Chihiro. His dad tells her that he's been sleeping a lot since Baba passed, so she goes up to his room to try and cheer him up. He asks about the new girl in her school, but she doesn't know anything about her. Before she leaves, she borrows another zombie movie from him. Later that night, Chihiro goes back to the abandoned building to continue preparations for the ritual but doesn't seem to be making much progress. He hears footsteps and goes to check who it is. He sees the principal's daughter, Ria, lamenting why she was born into her family. She notices Chihiro listening to her, and as they both see each other, she begs him not to tell anyone. He agrees. She asks why he's there, and he tells her about his plan to resurrect Baba. He explains why he's doing it, and although this plan sounds more hilarious than a bicycle on a treadmill, she says she wants to help. She would love to give her love to an animal since she can't have one because of her dad's obsession with cleanliness. He jokes, telling her to become a zombie to help, which scares her. She tells him she hasn't been in a relationship before and asks if he has, but he has no interest in girls, he wants a zombie girlfriend. It's just hard to find one. Ria tells him she's willing to become a zombie if he'll take responsibility. Ria watches a zombie movie for the first time ever as Chihiro prepares a concoction. He runs out of ideas on what plants to use, and the manuscript is so messed up it looks like a toddler's attempt at modern art, making it hard to read the instructions and ingredients. Ria asks what will happen to Babu, and he says they'll bury him, or maybe she should eat the corpse. He meant it as a joke, but Ria, who couldn't detect a joke if it danced in front of her wearing a neon sign, takes it seriously. She suddenly gets an idea and dashes out. As she's running, she trips a little, giving gravity a temporary victory, and the wind mischievously blows her skirt up, revealing her. Chihiro clearly saw but pretended not to because the last thing he needed was for her to be embarrassed and turn his life into a melodramatic anime episode. Ria narrates how her childhood was, revealing her dad's abnormal obsession with her. Every year for her birthday, her father takes pictures of her, and she only understands how abnormal it is now that she's grown. Her father and his subordinates watch her most of the time, even when she's in school. As she walks to class, her friend runs up to her, and they greet each other before going to class. When they get back home, Ria explains what her father does on her birthday. Her friend advises her to make her father stop doing it. Chihiro, tired of waiting for her to return, goes out to look for her and sees her climbing a rock. He runs to help her before she slips from the rock. They get back to the base, and Ria tells him why she was climbing. He tells her she's too reckless and could have died if she fell, but she says she knows. If she dies, she says, he'll bring her back to life as a zombie. He never said he'd do that because he hasn't even been able to bring Baba back to life. She politely tells him to. Ria later goes to her dad's office and tells him to stop doing what he's always done to her because it's not normal. He refuses and asks if anyone said anything to her. He walks towards her and tries to put his hand on her face before walking out. The next day, rumors fly at school that Ria's friend has been transferred to another school, and Ria immediately knows it's her father's doing. She runs to her friend's house and sees her carrying her cat in a cage. Her friend angrily tells Ria that her father is the cause of what's happening and that she regrets ever being friendly with her. Her father has her in the studio again to take pictures of her. Ria concludes she'd rather stay miserable than bring misfortune to others and lets her father continue his crazy act. Back at the base, Ria gives Chihiro the plant she picked to help him make the potion. Chihiro picked some ingredients to make the potion. He grinds and mixes them with other items, and while he goes to get Babu, Ria secretly adds a mysterious ingredient. However, it doesn't work, and they eventually give up, deciding to bury Babu. On the way to Ria's mansion, Chihiro drops her off and sneaks back inside. Unfortunately, her father sees the two of them together. When Chihiro gets home, his cousin starts interrogating him because he's been acting suspicious since Babu died. She holds him down and opens the cooler, only for Babu to jump out and leap into the distance. Meanwhile, Ria gets depressed, knowing her father will never let her leave the house again. She decides to end her life. Ria's father continuously hits her while yelling that he'll never let her see anyone again. This drives her to drink a potion to end her life, but it doesn't work. She wakes up the next morning and continues her life as usual. Her mother speaks to her coldly about sneaking out the previous night. Her father apologizes for hitting her but notices she's wearing her school uniform. He orders her to change, informing her she'll be homeschooled from now on. Her father's henchmen stand by the door so she can leave the room for them to discuss something in private. Ria steps outside but stays close to eavesdrop. She overhears the henchmen telling her father that they've gathered information about Chihiro. Her father orders them to curse him so he won't be able to go near his daughter again. At this point, I began to fear for our boy's life. Meanwhile, Chihiro, along with his sister and cousin, tries to get zombie Babu down from a tree. But you can't bring a cat back from the dead and expect it to have the same personality. Renko warns Chihiro about the dangers of having a zombie cat, but he brushes it off, saying the likelihood of issues is low. She argues it's immoral, especially since he's the son of a priest and they live in a temple. But, as we all know, kids don't like following rules. Suddenly, Babu jumps down from the tree and runs away. Chihiro chases after him. Renko can't let him go alone, so she follows, leaving Mero with Chihiro's school bag. Their grandpa comes outside after hearing the commotion, and Mero tells him what Chihiro did. He doesn't seem concerned and even laughs about it. Babu leads Chihiro to a riverside that seems oddly familiar. Nearby, Chihiro's friends, Motoyama and Yasutaka, are sitting in a corner chatting while their classmates play baseball. Suddenly, Ria appears outside the fence, looking determined. She asks if Chihiro is at school, but they tell her he didn't come today and is probably off doing something weird again. She heads toward the secret base where they usually meet, though it's clearly not so secret anymore. Chihiro follows Babu to the bottom of a cliff covered in the same plant Ria picked for the potion. Babu starts munching on the leaves like it's his last meal. Chihiro realizes it's the same plant Ria injured herself trying to get. As Ria walks along the cliff to reach the base, she notices her father and his henchmen lurking behind her like villains in a bad soap opera. Her father approaches her, claiming he's willing to forgive her, but she slaps his hand away and demands her freedom. Meanwhile, Chihiro, at the bottom of the cliff, witnesses the drama unfolding like a reality TV show. Ria's father refuses and starts dragging her away, but Babu charges at them like he's starring in a zombie cat action movie. Ria recognizes Babu, but her father panics, revealing he's allergic to cats, a phobia that feels laughably ironic right now. He pulls out a whip to hit Babu but accidentally strikes Ria instead, causing her to tumble down the cliff. Chihiro can't believe what he just saw, his brain doing somersaults. Before he can start crying, Ria stands up, with her guts hanging out like a scene from a zombie flick, and tells him to take responsibility like he promised. Her father is relieved she's alive, but Ria tells him she's no longer his daughter because she has been reborn. Her father sits in a bathtub, devastated that he's lost his daughter. When his wife hears the news, she storms into the bathroom and demands an explanation. He mutters words she doesn't understand, but his henchman reveals that Ria is likely with Chihiro. Hearing that name, her father jumps out of the tub and vows to retrieve his daughter and cleanse her of evil. Back at Chihiro's room, he helps Ria dress her wound. She uses her sewing skills to patch herself up, looking like a bizarre arts and crafts project gone wrong. She doesn't seem bothered by being a zombie, but Chihiro, the zombie enthusiast, is oddly shaken. He notes the obvious: she feels cold, has no pulse, and her pupils are dilated. Chihiro wonders if she'll be living off him from now on, which feels ironic given his zombie obsession. Ria draws his attention to Babu, who's back to his normal self as if nothing happened. It seems Ria can now understand Babu, possibly because they're both zombies. Talk about bonding over shared experiences. Noticing Chihiro's confusion, Ria asks if he wants her to act more like a zombie. When he asks why she isn't upset, she responds that it's because he's going to take responsibility, making him feel like he just signed up for the world's weirdest babysitting job. She asks him to let her do the things she couldn't as a human. She grabs his shoulder with her newfound strength and moves in to kiss him. Just before she can, Renko calls his name from outside, her timing impeccable, as always. Chihiro doesn't want Renko to know about Ria, so he rushes downstairs to meet her. Chihiro heads to the riverside, only to get an earful from Ria, who scolds him for ditching her while chasing Baba. As if his day wasn't chaotic enough, Yatsuka shows up, practically sprinting toward him, begging to meet Ria. The poor guy can barely keep up as Yatsuka gushes about his dream of having a zombie girlfriend. Back at home, Ria decides to take a shower. Seems harmless, right? Except Chihiro's grandpa strolls into the bathroom, convinced she's his late wife resurrected. Chaos erupts as Ria freaks out and bolts back to Chihiro's room, wearing nothing but a towel. Chihiro walks in to find her sprawled out on the floor, looking miserable. She tells him her body feels stiff, and it finally hits him. She may be alive, but her body? Totally dead. Cue the mad scientist montage as Chihiro brainstorms how to keep her preserved, feeling like he's in some twisted experiment. The next morning, Chihiro sneaks into his sister Mio's room to ask for a book on corpse preservation, because, of course, she'd have one. Mio casually mentions her friend borrowed it, and seriously, who even lends out that kind of book? She questions why Chihiro needs it, but he brushes her off and heads back to his room, slapping a "Do not enter" sign on his door. Yeah, like that'll stop his curious family. At breakfast, Chihiro's dad calls everyone downstairs. Chihiro panics, stuffing Ria into his closet. Her stomach starts growling like some horror movie soundtrack, but he has no time to deal with it. Downstairs, while pretending to eat, he's mentally spiraling over how to keep Ria hidden. Meanwhile, Renko finishes a delivery run, only to get ambushed by a classmate who's curious about Ria's sudden disappearance from school. Back at home, the family spends their day off cleaning the temple. Chihiro's dad spots a cat that looks suspiciously like Baba and starts grilling Chihiro. Thinking fast, Chihiro casually admits to bringing Baba back to life. Grandpa, thrilled, bursts into maniacal laughter, convinced both Baba and his wife are back from the dead. Things take a weird turn when Grandpa starts rambling about the world needing his resurrection pills. Chihiro's like, wait, Grandpa made these pills? But alas, Grandpa's memory fails him again. Before Chihiro can escape, his dad reminds him he still has chores to do. Adding to the chaos, Mio offers to clean Chihiro's room. Panicked, Chihiro insists he's already cleaned it. Mio, clearly not buying it, lets it go, for now. Renko shows up next, informing Chihiro that the Sano family is in an uproar over Ria's disappearance. Naturally, she jumps to wild conclusions about Ria eloping for love. As she's about to leave, Renko remembers she wants to borrow a movie and heads to Chihiro's room. While searching, she spots a strand of hair that clearly isn't Chihiro's. Before she can investigate further, Ria leaps out of the closet, pinning Renko to the ground and, wait for it, tearing at her clothes. Renko's scream shatters the awkward silence, prompting Chihiro to burst into the room. He yanks Ria off Renko, only for Ria to grab him and plant a kiss on his lips as they tumble to the floor. Chihiro quickly realizes Ria's unconscious and unaware of what she's doing. Renko, on the other hand, is not having it. She demands answers, accusing Chihiro of turning Ria into a zombie for some creepy experiment. She's throwing books, yelling threats, and promising to call the cops while Chihiro tries, and fails, to explain. Outside, their dad hears the commotion and asks Mio about it. Mio casually reassures him it's just Renko being Renko, and Chihiro's handling it. Back in the room, Chihiro manages to calm Renko down and explain everything, feeling like he's trapped in the world's weirdest soap opera. Just then, Ria spots Baba on the roof and crawls out the window in nothing but her towel. Chihiro scrambles after her, only to run into his dad, who assumes he's skipping chores. Thinking on his feet, Chihiro lies that Baba's on the roof and continues the chase. He finally finds Ria and Baba on the other side of a fence, munching on hydrangea leaves, the same ones used in the resurrection potion. Suddenly, Ria's eyes return to normal, and she regains consciousness. Chihiro realizes the leaves are essential to keeping her stable, as they're the key to her resurrection. Grandpa, surprisingly lucid, gives Chihiro detailed instructions on stabilizing Ria's condition. The leaves can slow her decay but won't stop it entirely. Moderate exercise is also a must. The whole family gathers, and Ria looks heartbroken, assuming they'll kick her out. But in a surprising turn, Chihiro begs his dad to let Ria stay, promising to take full responsibility. After a moment's hesitation, his dad agrees, making Ria visibly happy. Chihiro, now fully committed, begins documenting Ria's condition with a video camera, determined to understand what's happening to her. But just as the family gathers for dinner, Ria stays behind, and Chihiro knows he's got a long road ahead. Over dinner, Maru asks about Ria, offering to share some food with her, but Chihiro quickly covers, saying she prefers eating alone. Meanwhile, Renko brings over a bag of clothes and personal items for Ria, but when Chihiro jokingly asks about underwear, Renko bluntly replies that she isn't lending hers and promises to buy some later. Returning to his room, Chihiro finds Ria casually feeding Babu hydrangea leaves, their new shared zombie snack staple. Deciding she needs some fresh air, Chihiro takes Ria outside for a walk, filming her movements for his ongoing documentation. Strolling through the streets, they appear like a normal couple, until Ria's father's henchmen, lurking in the shadows, try to run Chihiro over with their car. Thankfully, Ria pulls him back just in time, saving him from becoming a pancake. Elsewhere, Renko is helping out at her family restaurant, darting between tables to serve customers. In the kitchen, Chihiro is also pitching in, much to the amusement of Renko's mom, who teases them about being a cute couple. As Renko leaves the kitchen, she slips, and Chihiro instinctively catches her, earning a flustered smile. Renko begins reminiscing about her childhood with Chihiro. She recalls meeting him for the first time at the temple graveyard, where he found her crying and scared. Even as a kid, Chihiro's fascination with zombies was unwavering, much to Renko's mix of awe and confusion. She remembers trying to pull him away from his spooky hobbies, only to end up chasing him through the graveyard when he ran off after being teased by other boys. Back in the present, Renko and Chihiro team up to deliver packages around town. One stop includes Chihiro's dad, who scolds him for being lazy and tells Renko to use him as much as she wants. On their route, Renko tries teasing Chihiro about his feelings for Ria, assuming he has a crush on her, but Chihiro denies it. They bump into their friends, Mwa and Yatsutaka, who immediately jump to conclusions about the nature of their date. Yatsutaka, jealous as ever, complains about how Chihiro always gets the attention of girls despite being a total zombie geek. As they continue the deliveries, Renko grows bolder, asking Chihiro if he remembers the first time they held hands. To her surprise, he does, recounting the memory in detail. Trying to play it cool, she pretends not to care, but it's clear the moment means something to her. After they finish their deliveries, Renko pins Chihiro against the wall, leaning in close as if to kiss him. But instead, she gives him some cryptic advice about not kissing someone just because it feels right in the moment, then abruptly runs off, leaving Chihiro dumbfounded. Later that evening, Ria joins the family for dinner, her plate filled with hydrangea leaves. Chihiro's dad, curious about her diet, jokes about her being vegetarian. Chihiro diligently records everything for his documentation, noting the peculiarities of Ria's zombie life. No sweat, no bathroom breaks, and no need for sleep. When Baba coughs up a ball of hydrangea leaves, Chihiro wonders if Ria might have similar quirks. Ria expresses a desire to live like a normal girl, so Chihiro takes her to the mall for some shopping. She tries on various outfits, eventually picking one she loves, though it's clear her body's limitations weigh on her. Renko, meanwhile, heads to a bathhouse to soak and reflect on Chihiro's growing concern for Ria. Mio and her friends also show up at the bathhouse, their chatter filled with middle school drama, providing a sharp contrast to Renko's deeper worries. After changing into her new clothes, Ria and Chihiro stroll through the mall, completely unaware of the henchmen shadowing them like villains in a bad action flick. Chihiro takes a moment to show Ria a special fabric he got for her, a material that, when combined with dry ice, will help keep her body from deteriorating in warmer weather. Though touched by the gesture, Ria grows solemn, cryptically telling Chihiro that there's still a lot he doesn't know about zombies. As Chihiro gets momentarily distracted by food cravings, the henchmen see their chance. They move in, but their bumbling attempt at stealth is interrupted by Yatsutaka, who tries to play hero. Despite his awkward bravery, Ria refuses to leave Chihiro, frustrating the henchmen. Left with no other choice, they cover her mouth and attempt to carry her off by force. They greatly underestimated Ria's newfound zombie strength. With a single swing of a bench, she knocks the henchmen down effortlessly, sending them sprawling like a line of fallen dominoes. Chihiro, completely oblivious to the chaos unfolding, steps out of the mall just in time to witness Ria in action, her casual bench swing leaving the henchmen scattered like pins in a bowling alley. Before he can process what's happening, the remaining henchman sees Chihiro, hauling him away to face Ria's father, setting the stage for an unexpected and tense heart-to-heart with the family's far-from-loving patriarch. Meanwhile, Mio is diligently sweeping around the temple's grounds when her dad drops a bombshell. He'll be leaving for a while, adding an air of mystery to their already complex family dynamics. He praises Chihiro for showing signs of reliability, a rare quality he compares to finding a zombie at a fashion show. Maru, ever stoic, remains unchanged, her poker face unyielding. She could easily win a marathon of staring contests. That night, as Mio settles into bed, she reflects on her dad's words. Could there be hope for Chihiro beyond his usual zombie obsession and laziness? Or is it just a phase before he returns to digging up the garden in search of undead neighbors? Meanwhile, Mio and her friends gather after school, diving headfirst into conspiracy theories like secret agents on a mission to uncover the truth. Their latest focus: the possibility that zombies are real and living among them, with their suspicious art teacher topping the list of potential zombie candidates. One friend even claims to have seen the teacher feeding raw meat to something in her bag, possibly confirming their suspicions. Determined to get to the bottom of things, they decide to stake out the art room like amateur detectives. However, in true comedy fashion, their cover is blown, likely due to Maro's clumsiness, causing them to be caught red-handed, or rather, raw meat-handed. Instead of detention, they end up getting a ride home with the teacher, who explains her bizarre behavior. Turns out, she's just a passionate caretaker of an alligator, and her strange diet was the result of a mishap with pig liver. Lesson learned: never judge a teacher by the contents of her lunchbox. In another quirky adventure, one of Maro's friends investigates a foul smell, suspecting zombies are involved. She stumbles upon what she thinks is a gruesome scene, only to find out it's just bones being used for a new ramen recipe. They even offer her a taste, proving that sometimes culinary experiments can turn out pleasantly surprising, unlike the more typical horrors of a zombie apocalypse. Later, Mio tells her friends about a zombie living in her house. Naturally, they're curious and want proof, but she can't give them any solid evidence. Instead, she tells them about Ria, how Ria doesn't eat people and is a vegetarian, which is something none of them would have expected from a zombie. Mio leaves to run some errands at the market. Upon returning home, she overhears her brother and Reino arguing about watching zombie movies. Mio heads to the graveyard to visit her mother's grave, just like Chihiro did earlier. After a while, Ria meets her there, curious about why she's in the graveyard. Mio explains she came to visit her mother's grave and praises Ria for being the one to take care of the household. During their conversation, Ria notices that Mio's face is flushed and wonders if she's running a fever. However, since she's a zombie, she can't detect temperature differences. Feeling embarrassed, Mio quickly runs away but falls. Ria helps her up and bandages her knee, further surprising Mio with her care. Mio narrates this to her friends, who are in disbelief that a zombie could be so kind. Meanwhile, Chihiro finds himself tied up in a room when a maid enters and offers him a drink. He complains about being tied up, but no one listens to him. Eventually, Ria's mother enters and begins questioning Chihiro about his relationship with Ria. She seems eager to know if they've gotten past the kitchen stage of their connection. Her tone shifts to a cruel one as she calls Ria a monster, who will eventually rot away. Chihiro, stunned, asks why anyone would speak about their own daughter in such a way. It's then revealed that this woman isn't Ria's mother, she's actually her father's second wife. She tells Chihiro about her history with Ria's father, Danakairo, and how she tried to win his affection in college. However, Danakairo ended up falling for a young, frail girl who was part of a competition he attended. Despite his family's objections, Danakairo married the girl, but she tragically died after giving birth to Ria. This loss devastated him, leaving him sick and nearly lifeless, until the second wife took care of him. Despite their marriage, Danakairo has never truly accepted or been intimate with his second wife. Instead, he remains obsessed with Ria, treating her as a living remnant of his deceased wife. His obsession has caused tension in their marriage, as he would often bring Ria along when the second wife suggested a honeymoon. She even tried to win his affection again, but Danakairo's obsession with Ria was all-consuming. After revealing her troubled history, Ria's second mother shows Chihiro her body, asking for his comfort. But Chihiro remains uninterested, firmly stating that his only interest is in zombie girls. A maid comes to take Chihiro away, and the lights turn on, revealing a room filled with pictures of Ria, photographs her father has taken. Danakairo thanks Chihiro for taking Ria away because it's only intensified his love for her, but at the same time, he can't forgive Chihiro. Danakairo leads Chihiro to his dojo, where the two will face off to determine who is worthy of protecting Ria. Meanwhile, Ria rushes home in a cab, determined to rescue Chihiro. So, Ria's been captured and tied up by the maids, and she's had enough of them dressing her up in ridiculous costumes for fun. She demands to be released, but they're just following her dad's orders, so she's stuck. Meanwhile, at the dojo, Daniero wants Chihiro to fight him. He tells Chihiro he can use any sword or martial arts, but Chihiro's got no clue about any of that. So, he tries to outsmart him, suggesting they stop fighting and just let Ria be with whoever she wants. But Ria's not having it anymore. She breaks free from her shackles, runs off to find Chihiro, and bursts into the dojo just in time to see her dad stab Chihiro. Blood's everywhere. But the moment Ria shows up in her bunny costume, Chihiro somehow seems more excited than anything. When she asks him how he's not feeling pain, he thinks it's probably the adrenaline, but then remembers when Ria licked his injury earlier. He figures her saliva must have gotten into his bloodstream, messing with his pain receptors. Daniera tries to stab him again, but Ria pulls out the sword that was stuck in Chihiro's body and blocks the strike. She tells her dad if he wants to keep fighting, he'll have to deal with her first. He's all like, "Why are you doing this?" And Ria replies that she's happy being with Chihiro. Daniera tells her they'll go to America to find a cure, but Ria's not interested. She just wants to stay with Chihiro. Eventually, Daniera agrees to hand Ria over to him and leaves to search for a cure. Chihiro passes out from blood loss, and the maids take him to a room to patch him up. When he wakes up, Ria's there in a nurse outfit, because the maids thought he'd like it. Reino rushes in, sees that he's okay, and starts crying, but then scolds him for making Ria dress up like that. Reino introduces herself properly as Chihiro's human fiancée, but he denies it. He doesn't remember agreeing to that when they were kids. Ria picks up on the vibe between the two and realizes that Reino might like Chihiro too. Now that Daniero has handed Ria over to Chihiro, he feels like he has to take his role more seriously. At dinner, everyone's eating, and their dad asks what Ria's having. Mio says she's a vegetarian, so she made stir-fried hydrangea leaves for her. Chihiro gets suspicious because hydrangea leaves are the only thing he's seen Ria eat. Later, he takes Ria for a walk and starts thinking about how he can preserve her body longer, but all he's got is his idiot grandpa for advice. They see a poster for a fireworks display happening the next night, and Ria says she's always wanted to see fireworks. So Chihiro promises they'll go see it. The next day, Chihiro tells Ria she can't go to school because there's a lot going on behind the scenes. The night arrives, and it starts raining, so they can't go see the fireworks after all. Chihiro apologizes, but Ria tells him to take her next year if she's still alive by then. At school, Chihiro and Reino decide to set off their own fireworks at the temple. Everyone gets dressed up except Ria. Mio goes upstairs to help her put on a kimono, and Ria asks about her relationship with Chihiro. Mio says they didn't get along well as kids, but Chihiro's proved himself to have more good qualities than bad. Ria admits she doesn't know how long she'll be around because her body's slowly decaying, even though it's not noticeable. Ria asks Reino if she likes Chihiro, and Reino admits she does. Ria asks the same, and Ria's unsure. She feels like Chihiro only likes her because she's a zombie. Reino encourages her not to think so little of herself, and they end up becoming friendly rivals. Later, they all go outside for fireworks and firecrackers. Ria tells Chihiro she's okay with living with him. The next day, Ria goes home to grab some things because she wants to return to school. Her stepmother stops her and tells her she won't expel her, but won't help her either. Ria agrees to it. On the way home, Chihiro asks why she wants to go back to school, and she says she can't be normal if she doesn't. He tells her to be careful and take care of herself. As Chihiro walks with Ria, he tells her he wants her to stay alive as long as possible. Ria says she wants to do as much as she can for as long as she can. Then, out of nowhere, Ria starts to feel something in her chest. She staggers and grabs Chihiro, biting him as they both fall. The bite in anime often symbolizes a deep connection or a dramatic shift in the relationship between characters. It's not just a physical action, it represents the merging of their worlds, Chihiro's humanity and Ria's undead existence. The act of biting, while typically associated with danger or harm in the context of zombies, here takes on a different meaning. It signifies Ria's commitment to Chihiro, as well as the beginning of a new chapter for both of them. You may have noticed that the anime cleverly weaves mirrored imagery to highlight the connection between Chihiro and Ria. Think about the graveyard and the dojo. One symbolizes death and reflection, the other discipline and choices. These aren't just settings, they're emotional landscapes. The graveyard represents their fears of loss, while the dojo pushes them toward their uncertain future. And what about water? Whenever it shows up, it brings clarity or emotional weight, like the rainstorm that prevents them from watching fireworks, subtly symbolizing the unpredictability and fragility of their bond. Time, too, plays tricks here, looping back to past tragedies like Ria's mother's death or Chihiro's childhood, constantly asking, are they stuck in a cycle, or can they carve out a new future? Even the fireworks hint at fleeting joy amid impermanence. And then there's the color red, like in Ria's bunny costume. It's playful, sure, but it also screams passion, danger, and love, reflecting her internal struggle between her father's monster label and her growing feelings for Chihiro. In the end, this isn't just a love story, it's about facing fears, breaking cycles, and holding on to fleeting moments of happiness. It's proof that even when life, or death, is stacked against you, love and courage make it worth the fight. And that's all for today. If you enjoyed diving into the layers of this beautifully messy zombie romance, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Seriously, it's like the red string of fate between us, only instead of eternal love, you get more anime content delivered straight to your feed. And hey, if you've got theories, questions, drop a comment below, and I'll do my best to answer you. Or just something you noticed that you want to share, I'd love to hear your thoughts.